course, having a conversation about technology in agriculture, and I didn't know, actually Mondi was just telling us right now while we were off air, that apparently at JKIA, there is a laboratory that checks every fresh produce that leaves. And it's that serious. Mimi na airport naendanga tuko nikienda Mombasa, nikienda hivi London kidogo, but I've never really, there's a lab for all that.
Absolutely. So for you to export fresh produce, they have to actually check. There's something they call MRL, minimum residue levels.
Yes.
Of different chemicals that are used.
Okay.
You know, so it's a standard. And if it doesn't meet, it doesn't leave.
Yes.
And they recheck it again when it arrives at destination.
Right.
If it doesn't meet standards, they actually destroy it and they'll bill you.
Of course.
They'll say, that was your mistake.
That's your problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so now getting back to what you were saying, so we can move on about the verification of you know, this waru. Nilisikia cash crop ya Muranga ni waru. So this waru comes from Muranga. Do Kenyans really care about that, or is it just now complicating their life for nothing?
I think primarily Kenyans care that they can access affordable waru and available throughout the year. So that is a primary concern. But then again, if you're going to feed your family with skuma or tomatoes, they care that actually, is this tomato healthy?
Yeah.
Is it grown with the right standards? That's why on our platforms, when farmers are accessing inputs, they're accessing different tools to grow the crops.
Yes.
We fundamentally check for quality to make sure that it's high quality.
All right.
But I want to move back a little bit into the most primary challenge, right? Our primary challenge is producing enough food to even feed Kenya, feed ourselves. It's a very fundamental challenge, right?
Yes.
So our first job is to make sure that the farmers out there can have enough knowledge, inputs, and these services and precision services to produce more food from the same land.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
If you look at Kenya right now, maybe we're about 50 million of us, right? And about 30% of us are in urban centers. That means at Tulimi, we're not growing food.
Yeah.
Then the remaining people, mostly now they're getting older, are the ones who are feeding us.
Okay.
If you fast forward to 2030, we're going to add another 8 million Kenyans to
urban areas.
In our overall population.
Oh, okay.
But what's going to happen is half of the population by then will be in urban areas. So 30 million people are going to be in urban centers. So the primary challenge is going to be, how do you use the limited land we have to feed a growing population overall, but a majority of them in the urban centers?
Okay.
That's why precision agriculture becomes very important. And I think agriculture is already changing. Before it was about shika jembe enda kwa shamba. Now it's about data and analytics. Drone, are you a drone? Can you be a drone operator? That means you can do aerial surveys, you can do sprays. That means that, you know, are you somebody who has a very interesting app on how distributors can order from, farmers can order from distributors. That's if you're in IT, agriculture becomes very important, right?
All right.
So I think this whole collection of the food chain is going to service the farmer and the consumer, but also open up a lot of employment opportunities for young people especially.
Okay.
That I want to point out. Yeah,
and I want to bring Godfrey into this conversation because he's a guy on the ground. So if, for example, we know for a fact last year and probably even the year before that, we had very little rainfall. We're still experiencing little rainfall. And we had this huge famine, huge drought, whatever you want to call it, and we didn't have food. So me having an app and there's no rain, so how is that helping me, you know, still produce? Having an app and locusts came from Yemen. I mean, there's really nothing much I can do about these locusts because they are flying, they came suddenly, they were brought by the wind from the experts that we had. So how are we going to mitigate all these things and other challenges maybe through an app? We are told by our president to pray as much as we have an app to do all these other things. So, I mean, what are we saying as far as this technology is concerned? Will it help us just with understanding climate patterns, or is it going to help us beyond climate patterns changing and locusts flying into my farm?
Maybe to take it back to what Omondi was saying, we are underproducing. We are underperforming. Our farming is basically underperforming. The best indicator as a country in Kenya is our maize production. So every year we are at a deficit. The maize that we are producing cannot meet our demand. So there has been factors attributed to this. You see, our agriculture is largely driven by the small-scale farmers. So our quarter acre, 1, 2 acres, those are the biggest driver of our agriculture.
Okay.
These farmers have some challenges. They are faced with some very, very serious challenges. And primarily there is that gap in the knowledge. We have a lot of knowledge.
Yes.
We develop it continuously. Internally as Yara, we are continuously developing new knowledge. Other players out there, the research institutions, the government, always generating new information. Now this information getting to the farmers, that's where you have a gap. And that is where these digital platforms come in.
Right.
You see, back then, like I mentioned, we used to have agriculture officers who would move around the village. But now it's not really possible. It's expensive,
yes,
first of all, to have such a manpower on the ground. And what these digital platforms offer us is that opportunity to reach many farmers within a very short period of time and in real time.
Okay.
So what we're doing with these apps are, for example, when the farmer goes there, they will get the product. They know they have a high quality input. But then these platforms will continuously give advisory services. Yeah, they will have those updated. Normally, you have to about 3 to 7 days weather patterns,
prediction and whatever. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And this is enough time for a farmer to plan. So, for example, we will have rain in the next in the 5th day from today. So, for a farmer, if he is about to add fertilizer to his crops,
right,
he might decide, let me not do it today because it will be dry for the next 4 days. Let me wait until that day so that I can do it, and then when the rain comes.
Okay.
So what these platforms are giving us is that opportunity to reach many farmers in real time with very, very precise information specific to their areas.
All right.
Yes.
Sami Moya, does it scare you when you hear what Omondi said in the next couple of years, majority of people will be living in, or at least a sizable number, will be living in urban areas, and yet you are here trying to educate farmers and telling them, you know, what seeds to grow, where to buy them, and what fertilizers to use, and all these things. Doesn't it make you feel like this is an effort in futility?
I might even scare you more. When people are moving to the urban centers,
yes,
it means the urban is increasing.
Yeah, so that means even the land
for farming
is also
reducing.
Wow.
So you should also be scared that even that farming land is going to reduce, the population is increasing. But what you are doing, we are doing our own few steps by trying to work closely with other industry players. And some of the real estate companies needs to understand that as much as we want to have our own modern housing, we need also to factor in the agricultural land, separate what is land that can be available for farming and land that can be available for construction. Unfortunately, a good example is Kiambu. You see what's happening to Kiambu.
Yeah.
Some few years ago, Kiambu was a big farming land, and now it is a whole real estate region, you know. So,
and houses there are expensive.
And houses are becoming expensive, which is a good business. It's booming business.
Yeah.
But what are we doing for our future generation? So we need to work closely with other industry players, especially in the construction industry. You also need to work closely with the government agencies and ensure that policies are made to give a guideline on this approach. So as much as you're saying you're moving to the modern, what kind of modern house in the urban centers, what kind of modern housing are we looking at so that we can conserve the space that can be utilized for farming?
Okay.
If you don't really look at that, then I think it will be a major challenge in future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And he's mentioned something about, you know, the expansion of land as far as construction is concerned. And I remember we mentioned something as we were seated in the reception about how even now food is being grown in the most weird of places that you can find. We have seen news stories of sukuma wiki, cabbages and whatever being grown in sewages. And maybe now that is where the technology for tracking your food and where it comes from. Because I don't want to eat food that is coming from a sewage. I don't know what's in that sewage. It could be human waste, it could be human and chemical waste. So are those some of the opportunities that maybe even people who are developing technology, digital technology, can now start focusing on, such that I know my food came from a clean place for sure, because urban areas is where you find all the sewage.
Absolutely, and I think the technology actually already exists. For example, within Yara, on our platforms, we can track the inputs that are coming from our warehouses all the way to the stockist or the agrovet down the line. And we're using, not rocket science technology, it's QR coding, and I think the reverse can happen. It means that we can give farmers the opportunity to track what they produced all the way through the supply chain. This is probably into the future. But it's a big opportunity, because I think, personally, I want to be able to at least have the opportunity to check where my food was grown. And I think this is a big opportunity going forward. It also addresses another issue. I think sometimes the lack of information makes our farmers suffer in another area. You can produce all the food you can, or all your produce, but if you can't market it competitively, then you can also lose in the process, right? So this knowledge about what is the market doing, what's the prices in different areas, who is looking for free-range chickens or other things, that information availability is very important. But the traceability is going to be very, very crucial going forward, such that we can be able to provide to consumers the information around where their food was produced.
Okay. Yeah. Then technology then is, as much as it's integrated in our daily lives, would also translate to some kind of expense, because you as a farmer, you have invested in all this tech, in the app, knowing where your fertilizer comes from, knowing the climate patterns. You've literally invested in this. So will that also translate to me as a consumer when I'm coming to buy that free-range chicken he's talking about, or that maharagwe that I'm sure is purely organic and it's good for me to consume? Because you made sure as a farmer it is good for me by employing all this tech. So eventually, instead of buying 1 kilogram at, and this is a random number, at 100, I end up paying 250 for the same kilo.
So these platforms, they come at a no cost to the farmer.
No.
Yes. So
they are free?
Yes, they are free. You just log in, register, and you have your information right there at your fingertip.
Okay.
Yes. So it's part of the work that we do internally. It also supports us as a business, because now we are able to have another channel for outlet. But to the farmer, these applications come at a no cost to them.
Are you guys an NGO by any chance? Are you a non-for-profit? But anyway, that's actually information that is good to know, because someone would be thinking, watu wanaongea sana, lakini sasa hizo vitu ni how much? So you want to tell me I can download the Yara app?
No, in fact, it's just a USSD code.
USSD code, and
that's the one for the marketplace. We have another. Like for example, today, I might even make it a mission to make you a farmer.
Yes.
If you're a farmer today, if you want to become a farmer today, let's say tomato, for example, there's a lot of learning that you have to do.
True.
Sometimes you go into the farm and how you left it yesterday, it's not the same today. The leaves have turned color. You really don't know what has happened.
They have wilted.
Yeah. Yeah, they have issues, deficiency issues, they have diseases. So other platforms that we have as Yara is an app that you can go open it, click, select your tomato, and then scroll on multiple hundreds and hundreds of images and see which one comes closest to what you have.
Okay.
Now this one will be able to diagnose what is wrong with your crop and then give you a solution, and then how to avoid this problem in future. So now, again, like I said, as knowledge is growing, we keep updating these platforms.
Yes.
So you, as Mbovi, who is now a new farmer, you are able to pick up and go. You don't need to go through a lot of trial and error, what we call
calling officers wakuja waniangalilie,
and
wanakwambia tuma ya mafuta kwanza ndio tufike.
Yeah, so now it makes it easier for you to access information.
Wow.
And you can pick it up now from there.
And it's free.
It's free. Yes. Maybe to touch on the cost element, right?
Yeah.
So the platforms, most of them will be free of charge to the farmer.
Okay.
Right. But one area we will need to address with different stakeholders going forward is things like the cost of data, right? Because when you use your app, you're using data on your phone.
Of course.
Exactly.
Or Wi-Fi.
Our USSD, by the way, is also free, so you're not charged when you access our platforms.
Okay.
But going forward, when you want to now see the videos, you want to see more, the data cost is going to become something. So that's something that looking forward is going to be something that we look through.
Okay.
And something to also mention about these platforms, right? You'll find that by making it easier for different players to interact with each other, the actual cost of things come down. Let me give you an example, right?
Yes.
You're a stockist at the village. If they have no idea about the demand or how many farmers need what, they'll be spending their capital stocking up on things that you don't need.
Right. So on the wrong stock.
On the wrong stock. So their money is stuck there, right? So if there's technology that enables them to know, you know what, the farmers ordering in my area are 150.
Yeah.
This is what they need.
Yeah.
They can better plan their stock, and that releases some value, you know. So by bringing these technologies together, you actually unlock value for different players, right? And some big players like we have like Kiara at the moment, we invest in those platforms. But we believe that fundamentally in future, because there's value being created, especially for the young innovators and others who want to collaborate with us.
Okay.
There's going to be money to be made. Let me give an example of drone spraying.
Yes.
So drones, when you go to spray, let's say mangoes or your farm,
yes,
typically if you have 1 acre, you don't know how many trees are there. Maybe you have an idea.
Yes.
But then the drone will come. The first thing it will do is count how many trees are on your farm. It will tell you there's exactly 218 trees in this farm.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Then another thing that it does for you is that it will spray the exact amount of chemicals that you need
for the specific
number of trees.
Okay.
Now, what does that do? If you're just doing it without the knowledge, maybe you'll buy 1.5 liters.
Yeah.
But actually, what you needed was 1.2 liters. So technology actually helps you spend less to do the same thing. And by the way, it's about 15 to 20 times faster than a manual process, right? So technology in a way makes it cheaper and easier and faster to do these things. And that's what we think we want to enable smallholder farmers to access.
Right.
Yeah.
I can see a drone spraying things there on the TV.
Yeah.
So these are some of the but do we actually have this in Kenya?
Yes.
No, I'm not, the drones we have in zile za watu wanashoot TikTok videos hapa tao.
Oh.
we have these kinds of tech in Kenya.
I was with one yesterday. So it's available.
Yeah.
And what it's available, but it's not available in the scale that is required, right?
Okay. Okay.
And I think those are the technologies we're trying to promote and encourage, and it ends up being the same cost,
right,
or cheaper than manual processes. If you go to even the normal things we do, like plowing,
right,
now even the tractors, if you do sensors that can actually count how many seeds you're planting, right? Because before, you just put seeds. You
throw it
random. Now, my colleague here, Godfrey, will tell you the number of maize kgs you get is dependent on how many seeds you actually planted.
Okay.
So the machine can actually tell you, you planted X amount of seeds, you should expect X amount of
kilograms
output
in terms of harvest. Okay.
So all those technologies were previously thought to be, big farms. If you have 1,000 acres, you have a lot of money, then you can do that.
Yeah.
But what we're trying to do is to democratize it, to make it such that even if you're a small farmer, because we are aggregating your requirements, you can access the same information without incurring a very, very huge cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sami, okay, you want to add something?
The drones aspect. We've been working with a company very closely as an entity at Agritech. There are 2 levels of these drones. They are available in Kenya. There is the spraying types of drones, and there is the data collection drones, which will come and fetch data, and then they will process with highly advanced machine, which can help you and give you a guide on what to do on the farm. It also helps in the prediction in the next season and all that aspect. It will do some analysis on the vegetation, and also to an extent to the soil. and give you a prediction on what you are supposed to handle. Also, I would like to mention on what Amondi has mentioned, that we have different players in the industry of agriculture, and each player is coming up with their own different solutions in terms of online platform.
Right.
So we are really trying to encourage that all these players to come in together, so that we don't, to an extent, confuse our farmers. For example, in our own entity, we have an online platform.
Right.
We call it Mtolori.
Yeah.
And we are working very closely with Yara on the same, because there are aspects of design that we have considered in our platform that can work hand in hand with the technology they have implemented on their platform. So we are also trying to encourage all the players to come in together and come up with a uniform solution to our farmers. We also understand in the field of technology, we have young entrepreneurs coming up with brilliant ideas.
Yes.
But we also proposing that they use the real players in the industry, because sometimes someone can have a brilliant idea that exists in their own world of imagination, but it is not practical in the real world of agriculture.
All right.
So as much as possible, Omondi has mentioned that it is important that these young players come with this innovative idea and implement through the real players of the industry, so that we can have more accurate solutions to our farmers.
All right.
Yes.
And I feel like we have not exhausted. I think we've only tackled like 3 issues out of about 20 questions I had prepared. So we are coming to the end of this conversation, but before we go, maybe you can just remind us of the event in September, you said? Tarehe 8 na tarehe 9.
Yeah.
Where is it going to be, of what benefit? Is it just for farmers, by the way? Is it for the general public? Is it for government people? Who is supposed to come to this event?
Okay, let me start by the location. The event will be held in Kirinyaga County, a place called Mwea, Mutithi, some few kilometers from Mwea town. That's where the rice farming is much done, and we are surrounded by rice farmers, horticultural farmers. But we are extending our knowledge to even other farmers in different counties. Okay. What we normally refer to as in agricultural pockets, Yeah. So we are trying to fetch farmers from all these counties. So far we've targeted over 30 counties. On the other hand, we are working very close with players in the industry who have the best and the most advanced technology that they can be able to train to our farmers who will be working in during the 2 days. Yara is one key participant in that event. We are really working very close with them. Okay. And we have already had some advanced steps that includes, demo farms on the location. And on that day, you'll have so many exhibition booths. Yeah. But apart from that, we are connecting with other industry players. You remember I had mentioned about the construction industries. We are requesting them to come over and join us, the banking sector, the off-takers, because we are even looking at a 360 approach in our farming, because as much as we're encouraging the best practices in farming, then where are they taking their produce? Okay. We're also looking at the quality, which has already been mentioned, the quality of the produce that come from the farm. Yes. So we are trying to be real good stewards in the kind of practices that we do, like the aspect of maximum residue levels on the produce that we have, the PHI, the post-harvest intervals. We have to really train our farmers to take into consideration of that. We're also encouraging our farmers to use chemicals or inputs that are, they have been certified by government bodies, because it's really important. And also trying to use the right chemicals for the right purposes. That's all about stewardship. So how do we deliver that? We connect with other industry players like the medical institutions, because these are concepts that lie within the agriculture industry, but they are not known out there. So we need to use that platform to disseminate that information in a nice array. Okay. Also, we are looking at the government, because we've been engaging. We've presented our proposal to the government, and it's coming on board. They will be there to discuss about contentious issues in agriculture, and some of the policies can be, analyzed, and people can learn. So we are trying to encourage, apart from farmers, even potential investors
All right.
in agriculture.
You should invite President Ruto. Si alisema yeye alikuwa mkulima wa kuku. Mko na namba yake? Niko nayo. Niwapatie.
Anatuona.
Yeah, of course, yeah, and our chingi show. But anyway, so is there any registration? Is there a number they can call or an email they can email so that they can get to know more about this?
First of all, there's a number which we'll share on the social, because we are going to tag it on our YouTube after this.
Okay.
But we are trying to confirm that for every farmer that walks in on that day,
Yeah.
he's not going to be charged anything.
Okay.
Just come free of charge.
Kuja tu.
Msaada tu.
We fika tu hapo. Aye. Yara, maybe you can let us know where can we find you. You said there's a USSD code.
Absolutely.
Yes. How can we reach you? Is there a telephone number? Is there social media, maybe handles we can follow?
Absolutely. So on the Yara Bodega platform, we have a USSD *301#. So that's straightforward for that. Also, we are online, yaraeastafrica.com. We have a YouTube channel as well. So we are quite accessible. Yeah, so I think there are different ways we can approach us.
All right.
And also we have quite a wide distribution network. We have about 6,000 stockists across the country.
Okay.
To which if farmers go, you get information and additional ways to reach us as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, Godfrey. Thank you, Omosh. Of course, thank you, Moya. We shall be this. I feel like this conversation needs to continue. So maybe we shall have a part 2. Might not be tomorrow, but definitely coming through as far as that conversation is concerned. We take a break here as far as the social hour is concerned. But Simona Joe, after this, inakuanga ni kelele tupu, as you guys like to call it, interactive. So don't go too far. Coming back in a short while.